So my birth plan, when I sat down and wrote it down, specifically, it was I did not want to be monitored during my entire birth. I was going to be induced at 39 weeks, but I did not want to be monitored, or I didn't want the baby to be monitored the entire time. I had him monitored at the beginning, and then we kind of took the monitor off because, again, I know me, I know my anxiety, and I wanted this to be a peaceful and calm delivery. And so that was the best way that I knew to do that, was to not be so focused on heartbeat and not be so focused on, I think I really just let everything go to God and said, okay, this is going to help me feel the best. So that was specifically as far as like during birth. I also wanted to avoid, like my doctors knew that I wanted to avoid a C-section, but given that my first birth went so smoothly, they weren't really worried about it. So they thought that that was like a doable plan for us to avoid a C-section. They knew that shortly after birth, I wanted him placed on me right away. We would delay clamping. I also specified that the first opportunity we had, I wanted my daughter to come in and meet him. So those are like the overall key points that I remember, which just had a lot to do with like making sure that we were just following my body, just like going with the flow of things, very low stress, having him sit on my chest right away, delay any clamping, delay anything, like delay all of the tests that they do right away. All of that was delayed. And so that was all written down in my birth plan. So all my doctors knew that we just wanted to meet him and have time with him, and everything else we would figure out later. So I kind of mentioned this a little bit already, but yeah, they do offer you to come. I mean, they don't really offer it to you unless you talk to them about it. At least that was my experience. They say that they're able to have you monitored every other day, weekly, depending on how far along you are, to make sure that baby is doing well in the womb, making sure that the umbilical cord is still getting nutrients to baby. So you are able to do that. I chose not to do that just because, again, for me, my well-being, I thought it was important for me to just let things happen. So that was something that they can kind of let you know, like you can take those precautions, because then if you do find something wrong, they can wheel you in for an emergency C-section. But again, that wasn't part of my birth plan. So what I did was I just tried to stay as calm as possible and really just bring anything that brought me peace, because I knew that if I was doing well, if I was calm, peaceful, that would help my delivery with Ezekiel, and he would feel at peace and he wouldn't feel anxiety.
So we decided to deliver at the Timpanogos Hospital in Orem, just due to the fact that our main hospital didn't have the highest tier of NICU, just due to the fact that like Ezekiel mentioned, if we ended up going the medical intervention route, we wanted to make sure that we had all the resources available to us at the hospital that we were at, and not have to, life flight our baby or change hospitals halfway through or whatever the circumstance might be. So that was the closest hospital to us that had, a top tier, NICU with outgoing 35 minutes up to Salt Lake.
So the MFM is not involved in the delivery really at all. So right around like the 35, 36 week mark, they kind of just say, do you want to keep coming in? Like, is this something you want to keep coming in for? They basically just hand it back to your OB. I know there are doctors who might not just specialize, but they just have more knowledge when it comes to trisomy. So we did do a little bit of research on that. And again, that's why we decided Timpanogos. We heard that there were some doctors there who could take lead in the NICU if necessary. So no, the MFM was not part of it. Yeah. Our OB was very supportive with my birth plan. They also gave us the contact to the head of the NICU at the hospital we were going to be delivering at. So we were able to meet with the NICU while I was still pregnant and just kind of go off of questions that we had, and they met with us and talked to us about kind of what we could expect if we wanted them to be hands-on. We were told that, they would be hands-off until we said, "Okay, we want intervention," and they were like, "We will be ready. This is what we'll do." So they kind of walked us through everything. And again, that was just, our OBs referring us to the NICU and giving us the opportunity to really talk to them about what our scenarios might look like.
I think that Angel Watch mainly, and obviously some of the other groups, helped significantly just due to the fact that they helped us prior, during us coping with the information given, and then assisted in the birth plan, letting each cell. And I know that we didn't have to choose comfort care all the way. We didn't have to choose medical intervention all the way. They let us reach out to other families that had gone through similar experiences as us. And then at the same time, they said, no matter what happens with your child, if he lives for 6 months, if he lives for 6 minutes, we have nonprofit groups and other moms that have been through this similar situation that'll come in and do, molds of, your baby's feet, his hands or her hands, face molds, and just stuff that made the experience more enjoyable, understanding that this never is information that any parent wants to receive, but at the same time, they try and provide as much comfort as possible through some of these other groups. And I think that was really nice to have some of these memories of Ezekiel that we can bring home and, display throughout our home and, just have as examples of him and his life.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of that, just because I think no one wants to think about, memorial or your kid's funeral, memorials, or things to do in that moment, but you have to. And so these things are hard to talk about. So I felt like Angel Watch was such a great support. They set us up in a way that we didn't feel like it was depressing to talk about. It was something that was realistically happening. And so they offered the support and said, we can help as much as we want or be as hands-off as you want. Just let us know kind of what we can do for you. So that was really helpful.